Okay, let me wrap this up now. Let's talk about the Target credit card attack. This involved some bad guys who got a lot of credit card numbers. So how'd this work? Well, there's a HVAC, heating, ventilating, air conditioning company that is a contractor to a lot of Target locations. And they decided these people need access to their network. I guess because it's a real fancy HVAC system that is web enabled, so you can change the temperature of the Target store from the convenience of your bedroom if you're the manager, I guess. And so there was a previously unknown flaw, well, unknown to Target, in the retailer's point of sale encryption, also on the network. So the stolen credentials got the bad guy into the network. The HVAC guys weren't bad guys, but they happen to have the network credentials. The bad guys got it from them, got into the point of sale encryption, and for some period of time, whenever you ran a credit card, they got it. This went on for, I don't know, days, weeks, whatever. And they were able to get the data before it got encrypted, and then they got all their credit cards. So really, if you think about it, the Target employees didn't really do anything wrong. Maybe, I just lost my screen here. Let me get this back. Maybe the Target employees shouldn't have given it to the HVAC company. Maybe the HVAC company should have preserved it a little better. But this point of sale thing, well, that's just a device that Target buys. You've seen those things. They're all over the place. But they're in. And let me talk about the City of Boulder. Cool. I looked one day at their policies and procedures for their IT department and information technology, and they have lots and lots of paragraphs of stuff about how wonderful it is, and then they have the actual guidelines. City employees are encouraged to use electronic password application, and they're encouraged to use multi-factor authentication. They don't have to do either one of those two things. They just have to, like a good employee, receive encouragement. And they have to exercise caution when they use email, attachments, shared documents, text messages, chat sessions, other electronic communication. So you can click on links for phishing attacks, and you can open attachments, and you can do all that stuff. It's all perfectly in compliance with the City of Boulder's IT policy, as long as you are exercising caution. But if you do anything and you are not exercising caution, you're violating the policy. And when it comes to these portable electronic devices like the USB drives, thumb drives, and hard disks, do not connect them to a City Boulder computer unless they're trusted and known. So, okay, this USB drive is trusted and known. This is the one that little Sally uses for her 5th grade homework that she takes in and then lends to all her friends. That's known. I know exactly whose USB drive this is. I didn't pick it up in the parking lot. It's Sally's. And I trust Sally. Sally's my daughter. Trust her. Well, who the heck wants a USB drive plugged into a City of Boulder computer if it has gone through the middle school class? And then you have to exercise good judgment. Don't exercise bad judgment. City of Boulder's not paying for that. Only good judgment. So this is worthless. And when I saw this, I wrote a long, long email to the City of Boulder manager and a manager of IT, telling them that their policy really needed to be fixed. Never got a response. A friend of mine is very friendly with the city manager, and she was surprised to hear I hadn't gotten a response. So she personally emailed the city manager, didn't get anything back. Now, right now, the City of Boulder's out of money, and I'm not sure that anybody in the IT department even still has a job, but this was a while ago, back when they did have money. I went to an organization one time and was invited to use one of their computers, which I was. I think I was only using web access. I noticed they put epoxy in their USB drives. So hats off to whoever runs the IT department there. More stories from me. I used to work for a Texas school district, I won't name them, and they hired a company to install a gradebook management system for all of their schools to keep track of the grades and produce the report cards. And they were required by contract to give us a copy of their database so that we would have a copy, because it was one of these software as a service where the thing was running on their own servers, but we wanted a copy of the database. After all, it was our data. So I got the database management system to operate on the database because I was interested in how it worked, and I found an interesting file and discovered they're storing all the passwords in plain text, which, as I already explained in one of the earlier videos, very, very bad. Very bad. But then I also noticed that the administrator's password was in plain text, and I now knew what it was. So this school district, called District A, I logged into District A's system, which we were buying from these guys, and came in as administrator. And, well, I was an employee of the IT department, so I figured, well, consultant anyway, figured, okay, well, that's not so bad. But then I went to a few other school districts around Texas that were running their software. How did I find out they were running their software? Pretty easy. Went to their website and they boasted about it. And I tried the administrator password on them, and that worked. They'd used the same administrator password on all the school systems in Texas, of which there are about 1,000. They didn't have all 1,000, but I bet they had, I don't know, 25 to 50. So I could log in as administrator to 25 to 50 Texas school districts, and I was just a contractor who lived in Boulder. I didn't even live in Texas. So I told the director of IT, who I reported to, about this, and he had a similar reaction if I told him that the Texas Rangers had just lost a series to the Yankees. He was unhappy, but did nothing. Okay, number 2, Conference on World Affairs. I used to run all of their databases and everything else, their website, everything, and a lot of passwords, probably 4 or 5 different passwords for different things. Of course, I made them all different. They got in a new director of marketing or something like that, and one day I noticed my passwords weren't working, and I called her on the phone, and she said she had changed them all to be the same password so they would be easier to remember. There you go. So if you want to let a director of marketing who knows nothing about security run your security, that's what you get. So as I was explaining, nobody gives a hoot about breaking into the Conference on World Affairs websites. I don't care about that. But if you can get logins and passwords, then you got something. And then the third thing, I worked on 3M for a CT scanner, and this is actually an FDA licensed piece of equipment that shoots x-rays at people and makes 3D images, a pretty serious thing. They used Windows to run inside that gadget, and because it was like embedded software, it could not be updated. And before I criticized IT managers who never updated anything, you actually couldn't update this thing. And it was as insecure as Windows, which is to say insecure. So somebody could actually, this might now get into cyber terrorism. You could actually get in that thing and seriously change the CD dose, so you could kill somebody with that. I'll just mention as an aside, there were every 6 months or year or something like that, a team of people came in from the FDA to go through all of our development and everything else and make sure we were compliant. But this was a private contractor paid by the 3M division, not by the FDA. They sat in a conference room, which they never left, and were presented with huge, huge books documenting all of our engineering procedures, all of our testing, whatever. It was 100% bogus. There wasn't a word of truth anywhere in it. That's not directly connected with cybercrime, but it certainly is an indication that even the checkers can be scammed. So here's some questions. Why don't critical websites like banks use secure logins, like two-factor authentication or making up the password for you? Why do browsers allow you to enter passwords at all? Why does the login screen even let you do something like that? Why do websites allow you to pick your own password? Why do operating systems let you install an uninstalled application? If I download something I think is a photograph and I double click on it, why is the operating system running it at all? It's not located in the folder where applications typically are, and it never was installed. You know what it's like to install an application. It didn't do any of that stuff. Why is that even allowed? And if anybody ever gives you a technical reason, I'll tell you right now that's wrong. Why do organizations allow personal use of work computers and access to USB sockets? The problem with personal use of a computer is they're going to go to a lot of websites that have a lot of ransomware and phishing attacks and crap on them. Whereas if they just did their job and they only their job on the work computer and only went, maybe they do have to go visit the website of the City of Longmont Planning Department, but really not too many phishing attacks are going to come out of there. Why are people using work computers for any personal purpose whatsoever, including personal emails? There's no legitimate reason why this should be done. If people really, really need to do this, have them bring their phone to work. They all bring their phone to work. Answer at bottom. No peeking. Don't peek. Don't peek. Can anybody read what this says? Oh, you know what? Isn't that funny? I clicked on it and it reversed itself. That's my slideshow thing doing it. So let me just skip down here and what should you do? Keep your operating system updated. It's a real nuisance. My Windows system kind of updates itself in the middle of the night, which I think is the default nowadays. I come in the morning and discover it updated. Run good, I call it virus software, but that's only one of numerous things that it does. I use WebRoot, and as I can tell, that's the best. It costs a bunch of money. You pay the money, and don't stop paying it because you need the updates. Use cloud backups. A lot of people use Time Machine or local. That's not any good because Time Machine's connected and the ransomware can encrypt it. But really, once ransomware can't get to the cloud backup, it can't. Even if it logged into the cloud backup, there wouldn't be any way that it could encrypt the files. And Time Machine does this, but you need a backup that keeps all the versions of the file, because you may discover that everything's been encrypted. Everything was encrypted a week ago. Maybe you're on vacation, so it doesn't really do any good if you made a backup of the encrypted garbage. What you need is the clean one. So what you want is every version of every file that ever existed. And you have to pay for that, so pay. And only open attachments you're expecting. And if your accountant sends you an attachment that has your tax return, that's okay, you're expecting that. But if somebody sends you an attachment, somebody you never heard of sends you an attachment and say, by the way, open this up. This is some information I just got about things that were not put in the Mueller report, along with some stuff that was redacted from the Mueller report, and you'll want to see this. Don't open it. So this is real inconvenient. This is no way to run your life, but that's what you have to do. Okay, so I'm going to end this video now, and